Hi, this is Rachel Friedman, and you are listening to The Wellness Boss. Look, the entry bar in the coaching industry is really low. So to compete in the coaching industry, you have to be really fucking good at your craft. That's why every week I will be sharing my tips, tools, and stories to help you become the best coach possible for your clients. Truthfully, guys, let's be real. This is the backbone of your business, and it's what's going to make you a sought-after coach with a thriving business. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Wellness Boss. We are here today with Sherrie, and Sherrie is, well, let's see, how can I say this? Sherrie's pretty cool. She is a running coach, but she's not just just like that. Anyone's just anything, but she is a running coach, but even more than a running coach, what she does now, not just help you become like a better runner, but she helps you understand why you're running. And if you are running, I just did air quotes like anyone can see me, but running away from problems, she's going to help you clean all that up and get you to a healthier place in your running and really in your life, right? Because it's all kind of symbolic. So Sherrie, I know I probably didn't do the best job describing it because obviously I can't do as good of a job as you can. But Sherrie, will you tell everyone who's listening a little bit more about you, where you live, how you got into all this, and exactly who you help in a way that they're like, oh my God, that's me.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I have a very long history with running. I started running in 2005 when I had just had my third baby. And I thought I was starting running because I wanted to lose the baby weight. But what I found out was,
Relate. That's why I
yes,
started.
can't we all, right? We all think, oh, I'm going to run. I'm going to lose the weight by running. But what I found out was I have a history with postpartum depression, and running magically made me feel better emotionally. And I didn't know at the time, back in 2005, I didn't know that about endorphins and, all of the positive, chemical effects of running. And so I just started running and kind of never stopped. And then I got into like more into fitness. In 2014, I became a certified personal trainer. And then in 2016, I certified as a running coach. And then just in this year, or actually last year in 2021, I was certified through the life coach school as a certified life coach. And so I have a long history with running and the benefits of it physically. But for me, the emotional and mental benefits of it have been really impactful. And so what I really want to do is to show people how to manage their emotions outside of running so that they can just run happy and perform separate from their emotions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that because we were chatting just a few minutes, guys, before obviously I hit record. And I didn't know, Sherrie, your story about the postpartum depression. That actually sounds really, really familiar. That was basically very similar to me. And yeah, it was the one thing that I noticed similar. Oh, wow. I actually feel better. And so it can be very addicting, definitely, just like I guess anything that is an endorphin, natural or unnatural, like drip into the body. But I love that you want to help people or that you're helping people that they can just love the running, the fitness part of it, but not use it as a way to basically manage their emotions, because in a lot of ways that I think eventually you will burn out. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I would think you probably would burn out.
Oh, yes.
Like your
100%.
body can only, I mean, I know my body can only have so much. I know for me, I ran a marathon, God, 17 years ago. The only reason I know that is because my son is 17 and he was literally like 9 months old and he's about to be 18. And I literally can't really run anymore because the way I trained for it was probably not the smartest way. But yeah, and it, yeah, a lot of it was just running away from emotional stuff in all truthfulness.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that runners have a unique mentality that like once you do a 5K, you're like, okay, now I'm gonna do a 10K and then I'm gonna do a half marathon, then I'm gonna do a marathon. And what happened with me is I'm kind of, well, no, I'm not even embarrassed. I'm just gonna say it. I've run 24 marathons. And after a while,
Holy
I'm
shit.
like, well, I've got to start doing ultra. So I ran my first 100-mile race last September. And so that is what runners do. It's almost like, yes, the addiction, it's like we need our next fix, and a marathon isn't enough anymore. So I've got to run a 50K and we be crazy. And it's literally, I'm like, you hear the running off the crazy. And what I want to do with my coaching, with what I'm offering is most people are usually unconsciously or consciously running away from something,
Mhm.
and what I want to teach is how to run towards something positive rather than running away from something negative.
Ooh,
uh,
that's so good.
because for me, because yes, running does, it release endorphins, it is a very healthy outlet, but when you're using it to avoid dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with, it can also become um, a, a negative coping mechanism rather than a
Yeah.
positive.
So Sherry, like if someone's listening right now and maybe they're a runner, and I mean, obviously I should say obviously, but obviously they don't have to be an ultra marathoner to be running away
Exactly.
from
Yes.
problems. I think I mean, people who aren't running probably can relate to this too. But if someone is a runner and this is like they're kind of falling into this, what are like some signs that they're not using the running, not using the running, but they're running away from things instead of running towards what they want?
I think a big one is like you talked about the burnout. I know that there's a lot of like, if I didn't get my run today, I'm in a bad mood. That's a huge one. I know that there was a point in my life when I was training so hard and I had to, I mean, I literally would run 7 days a week. And I remember if I skipped a day, there was like this guilt factor. I'm feeling like bad about myself. And my kids would be like, Mom, did you run today? Because you're really ornery. If you feel like you need to run to manage your emotions, you are running away from your emotions.
Oh my God. I can so relate to this. Like, so I think I did this with running, but I used to do this with yoga too, where I'd be
Uh-huh.
like, if I don't get on the mat, I'm like a crazy bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're just like, I love to run, I love to run. It's fun. I love being in the mountains. I don't want to need to run to be okay.
Mm.
So that's a big sign. If I need to run to be okay, that's a big sign that you're using running to run away.
And so just in case someone's listening, I mean, it's so interesting. I was saying this to another guy. She's like, so who's your audience? I'm like, well, I think my audience is, but the weird thing with the podcast is like, it's not like Facebook or Instagram where you see who's following you or who's downloading. You really have no clue. So, but if someone's listening and they don't really 100%, I think I talk about this a lot too, but I'm not sure if I've actually ever said it. So I'll let you do the honors, but like managing their emotions, right? What are like some signs that you see, at least if someone's not managing their emotions? Like, what does that look like? Because if they may not even know if they are or they're not.
Yeah, it's super unconscious. I think when you I'm trying to think of a way to like identify when you're doing it not unconsciously. When you feel the need to be happy all the time,
Mm.
when it starts to like when you start to feel that overwhelm feeling and you're not 100% sure why, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. If you find yourself signing up for race after race after race and you're never quite like, I'll be happy when I'll feel like a real runner when I cross the finish line. I'll feel like a real runner when I qualify for Boston. I'll feel, I'll be happy when I accomplish XYZ. And then you get to XYZ and then you're like, I still don't feel better. That's a really good sign.
Ooh, I
Um,
love that. Yes, I would 100% agree. And I think we can do this like with running. You could do this with weight loss. You could do this in your business, right? Like I hear my clients say this when I hit 5 clients, then I'll
mhm,
feel successful. Or when I have a 10K month, then I'm successful.
mhm.
Or when my clients are getting certain results, then my business is doing well. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Because trust me, you just then change the goal. Basically, your brain will just extend the goal. My brain used to do this. It'd be like, oh, when I hit 10K months, then I'm successful. Well, I'd hit the 10th goal and I literally would like bypass myself and be like,
Mhm.
well, but really it was 20K, right? Like, it's like you just like literally trick your brain into like pretending that was never the real goal.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I'm so guilty of this too. And then I get in the overwhelm and have all these expectations of myself, and then I just freeze.
Yeah,
And I'm
right.
stuck. I'm
Oh, so I think
panicking.
that's Sherry, I think that's such a good point though, because I think they might be freezing too.
Uh-huh.
Like if
Yeah.
you feel like you're in like that stuck or frozen mode, like you're trying to move forward with something, but you're like not really.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that for me personally, I think that comes from focusing on what I'm not doing.
Hmm.
So for someone who's avoiding their emotions, you're focusing on all the things you're not doing. You have guilt, you have, tons of pressure on yourself. I didn't show up for my run, or I'm not showing up for my kids, or my business, or, all the things that you think you should be doing and you're not. You're just compounding that. Like, I call it adding drama to your drama.
Yeah, right.
you know,
I
um,
like that. Drama to your drama.
and I mean, I'm super guilty of doing that. You get into the overwhelm, and then it's like you're adding on to what you think you should be doing, when really you just need to just one step at a time.
Yeah. So, if someone's in that space, like where do you suggest they start?
Really, I think, and it depends on if we're talking about like starting with running or
Hmm.
starting with facing emotion. I think acknowledging, noticing where you feel it in your body. If you start to notice that overwhelm, usually my personal opinion, and I think there's some, science to back this up, and psychology to back this up, I
I
hope.
love it. I do the same thing. I'll be like, well, my opinion is,
I'm
and
gonna
there
make
are
up
books
this
out there that
statistic.
prove that my opinion is right.
Yes. But when you stuff emotion, whether consciously or unconsciously, it stays inside your body. And we think that I'm just going to put this down here. And we think that we're dealing with it, but really we're storing it in our body. And emotion has a tendency to find its way out anyway. So
Hmm.
when we resist it, it comes out in, you know, acting out behaviors or coping mechanisms or addictions or just explosive, I'm going to yell at my kids, whatever, it comes out. And I think when it comes up in the moment, notice where you feel it in your body and like name it. I think that gives us power over it. I'm a big, big believer in leaning into emotion and just allowing it in the moment. And sometimes it's not convenient. I call it the proverbial gut punch.
It's
you
almost
know,
never convenient, I
it's
find.
never, I'm
It's
like
at
in the
the most
grocery store and all of a
inopportune
sudden I'm
times,
hollering.
right?
Yeah. But and it's something about like reducing the shame or eliminating the shame around emotion. If I'm in the grocery store and I get the proverbial gut punch hits me, I'm going to cry. It's fine. I'm just going to cry. It's fine. And if people come to me and say, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I'm just feeling my emotions. There's
I
nothing
love that.
wrong.
Oh my God, I'm so gonna do that
I'm
the
not
next
going to be
time.
embarrassed about it because it's called being human. And we have this belief that we're supposed to hide our emotion away, and we're supposed to no, don't let anybody see that you're
Mhm.
feeling something. And I think I actually have a tendency to do the same thing with positive emotion. um we think we want to avoid, we don't want people to know we have negative, but also I will sometimes, like, I'm so excited but I don't want to be like adored or like too much, so I'll even minimize that sometimes. So I think we just need to allow it all and just express it all, and I think that's where you start.
I love that. And I think you're right. I mean, I find this, I've seen this many times, like that fear of success, which is very similar to that, like allowing yourself to be in the positive and sharing it. Because there's one thing to allow yourself to be in it, is another level, I think, to be vulnerable enough to share it. Because I think there is this fear still of rejection on both sides.
Oh,
Right? And
absolutely. Yes.
it's a scary place to step into, but I also think it's really magical when you let yourself.
Yes. And so for runners, I really love using running to process emotion
Mm.
rather than avoid emotion. And so running can be really meditative, because meditation is really kind of trying to stay in the present moment, connecting to your body, connecting to your breath. And running is awesome for that. For me, because I'm not very good at sitting still. But if I have something that feels really acute, I will go to the mountains and I will purposefully open up to allowing it, rather than avoiding it. And it's really easy to go to the mountains and turn on your music and just like, I'm just going to just not think about anything. I'm just going to listen to this really loud music or a podcast or whatever. But I go without music. I have a couple of safe places that I go to where I just go to sit, where I'm moving my body, but I'm also connecting with nature and just allowing. And I cry, and sometimes I journal, and then when I'm having a happy day, I'll go to the mountains and run my little heart out because it's fun,
Yeah.
leaning into both spectrums of emotion.
I Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, oh, that's the difference between running and using it to process your emotion, is where you take out the headphones and you let yourself be with yourself as you run versus running. Because I used to run and like be like, I just gotta get out this anger or frustration, pound the pavement. But it was that loud, kind of angry music. And
Yeah.
that is almost the running away, as I hear you saying, from the emotions versus like I meditate every day and I sit. And I
Mhm.
used to have the same thought that I was not good at that because, and as a retired runner, I get it.
Yes.
And again, it's the same as running. It's just learning how to build the
Mhm.
stamina of sitting
Yeah,
instead
and
of
me not
building
being
the stamina
specific
of running.
is
But
totally a thought, yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I can jump in the pool there for a minute with you. But yeah, I think it is the biggest difference between using it for you is, like you said, is taking out the headphones and making it like a meditative experience. And I mean, you could do it with other things too. Running is just, for some people, that's their way. But whether you do it with running or walking or whatever, it's like unplugging from extra, what is it, like additional noise.
Yeah,
So because
distractions, yeah.
that's distracting yourself from what's actually going on. The only way you actually can process something is listening to it.
Exactly. Looking at it.
Looking at it, right?
Yes.
It's like
Yes,
yeah, like, I mean, I was talking to Charmaine when we were on the podcast, and, she was talking about she helps people, stop, like, basically, stop overeating, like, lose weight, and it's the same thing as, like, if you're using the food to buffer, like, you could use running to buffer. And if
absolutely,
you're
yes.
not familiar with the word buffer, guys, it's just using something to avoid what you're feeling, basically.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, and running really can be a really positive outlet for dealing with problems in life and emotions. But yes, a lot of people will use it to buffer or avoid or run away. And that's pretty much all I'm trying to preach is to stop running away from your emotions, face your emotions, deal with it, so then you can just have fun.
Yeah. I
And running is fun.
Yeah. So what are like some things that you see is possible when you learn how to feel your emotions and not run away from them anymore?
The one thing that I do notice, especially with ultra runners, most people that I know that have gotten to that level, it's because there's some really, really, pardon my French, but really heavy shit
Yeah.
that people have dealt with in their life. And I th- it's kind of an experiment in an experimental phase right now for me, to find out if it's possible to do ultra running without
Mm.
deep emotional pain. Um, and when I did my 100-mile race last September, I decided to just jump in just into the deep end, and I picked a really hard race that has
Of course you
21,000
did.
feet elevation gain. Um,
Because
beautiful.
I mean, you're
All
not
the
just going to run 100 miles, but now you got to do the hardest one, Sherry, right?
right. Well, I mean, and the thought that I had when I signed up for that race was, well, I just went through a divorce. I've climbed a lot of proverbial emotional mountains, and it's time for me to climb a real one.
Mhm.
And so it kind of was this, to me, it was this rite of passage. Like I went through the hard shit, and now I have enough emotional pain to get me through 100 miles. And I think there's a lot of ultra runners that have that thing. Like my pain is getting me through this.
Ooh,
Um,
that's
and
kind of, I mean, that's fascinating.
yeah, and or um, I know I'm strong because I overcame this emotional pain.
Hmm.
It's, and that kind of goes hand in hand. The interesting thing though is that, when you go into the dark because you do have to run all day, all night, all day, unless you're fast. I'm not. I'm not a fast ultra runner. Some people can do it in 24 hours or less, whatever, but you do have to go through the dark. And what I've noticed for a lot of runners is once it gets dark outside, that's when your mind gets dark. And it's not the same for everybody. I actually personally I love running in the dark. I love running in the night. I love just like being in it. It's really, I don't know, it's cathartic for me. But the next morning when the sun came up,
all your shit
that's when my brain went dark. And I know a lot of people experience, like, when your body is so completely depleted, your brain has less ability to you have less ability to manage your mind. And you start to feel like, I can't do this. I can't keep going. I'm so tired. My feet hurt. I'm hungry. I've been vomiting, unfortunately. I'm like, why do people do this on purpose and pay money?
Yeah. I'm like, why the hell would anyone do this?
It's fun, right?
Sounds super fun. Feet hurt, vomiting,
yes,
hungry.
yes,
Sounds super fun.
It's great. You should start it. But the thing that I've noticed, that running is such a metaphor for life, especially when you're doing long distances, like a 50 miler or 100 miler, is your mind gets to this point where you think, I can't possibly go on. I can't do this anymore. I give up. And what's magical is then you just get into that space where I'm just going to put one foot. I've just got to get to the aid station. And then when I get to the aid station, I'm going to quit. But I have to get to the aid station. And what happens between that moment of giving up and the aid station is you rally and you get a second wind and you turn a corner and you feel better. And doesn't that happen in emotional, like, healing? In, it's powerful. So if you can kind of remember that there's going to be a corner to turn.
Love it.
And that you will rally and it does get better. And then you turn another corner and you have to climb up this giant, 1,000-foot gain in a mile. And it's really hard. And it's mile 94 and you're tired and you're done. And then it goes downhill again. It's just that it's such a roller coaster, and so is life. And so being able to manage your mind and recognize those things outside of buffering and avoiding and, all the coping mechanisms that we use, it's powerful, because then you can just go and run and, still your muscles still hurt, but you're not like suffering emotionally.
Yeah. As you go through it. I do think that's an interesting, you'll have to get back to me and let me know, but I do think it'd be interesting to find out if people would still be as I'm sure there'll be some, but as driven to do those like 100-mile races without that emotional baggage they might also be carrying.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I will have to let you know. I love
science experiments.
I'm just interviewing people and asking, like, what's your, because you have level 1 why, right? Like, why do you run? If I were to ask you why you run, I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. Right. That's like your level 1 why. And when you get down to it, there's like level 5, here's my real why. And I think it'll be interesting to see, once people can manage their emotions on their own outside of running, or even using running to manage their emotions rather than avoid them, how their why changes and how their motivation changes.
Yeah. Super fascinating. So Sherrie, if someone's listening right now and they're like, wow, this is super interesting, and maybe they're a runner and they're like resonating with what you're having to say, where would they find you if they're like, I think I might need some support?
So I have a running coaching business that is it's called the Marathon Mind. And we do running coaching. We do have a little brain training, like, worksheets that we give our clients. So if you want running coaching, I do it through the Marathon Mind. For life coaching for runners, if you want like the emotional, let's work through, your emotions, you can find me at sherrielovecoaching.com.
Awesome. Okay. I will make sure that all of that is in the show notes. So just one thing that just came to my mind, what would, like, if they're not sure, like, where would you okay, two things. My brain's like all over the place right now. So like, if they want to be, so is the running, like just the running coaching more of like just improving your running? Whereas like, can you help them understand just a little better what would help them self-identify where they fit? And what if they want both?
Okay. So yes, the running coaching is, you get a schedule, like a traditional running coach, you get a schedule, you get some nutrition guidelines, you get, strength training, and then you get just a worksheet every week that asks you questions about how to, like, just something to think about how you mentally approach your running.
Okay.
So it's more of a traditional running coaching plan. If you want more of the life coaching, it's more of like, conversational, one-on-one talking that will help you actually customize, like the brain training worksheet that you get in the running coaching app is not customized to you. It's just, here's a question for the week. Everybody that gets coached gets the same one every week. But if you want something more personalized, somebody to, like, if you want me to talk to you about your specific problem and help you work through, how you're thinking through that problem, that's when you want to go through the life coaching avenue. And you can do both. Normally what I do with the running coaching, we have an app. It's a monthly fee. You just get an app, you check in with your coach every week. And with the life coaching, I actually schedule them separately because it's two separate companies that I work through. But you can do both. If I need to talk through my stuff and I want a running coach, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good. And so if someone was like, maybe like running marathons or ultras, and they want to be able to do it from a place of more just like ease and peace, then it sounds like the life coaching is really more of the avenue for them.
Yes. Yes. If you already have your running plan, you already have a routine, and you just want to work on, not running away from your emotions, yes, go through the life coaching avenue for sure.
Awesome. Oh, well, Sherrie, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom with everyone. And anything else that you want to share that you are like, oh my God, people need to know this? Yeah, anything.
Let me think. Oh boy, no pressure.
By the way, guys, I don't really give them any questions in advance. We just talk, so they don't get to prepare.
Usually I'm really good with that. I would just say, just one step at a time, literally run the mile you're in, proverbially and literally. Don't get overwhelmed with what you have facing you. Just one step at a time, one little thing at a time, aid station to aid station, and you've got this.
I love that. I love even using that as a metaphor for life, right? Like aid station, like your aid station is literally around the corner, and you just have to take one step, and you will be there. And there's your support, right? Exactly. And then we'll do it again.
Yep.
I love that. I'm going to so use that, FYI. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know that, like me, you're also a single mom, so you're juggling a lot. And as we're recording this, it is summer, or here in Georgia, at least, it's almost summer. Well, today was last day of school for my kids. So we're like on the cusp of the end of, as a mom, right? Having spaciousness. But yeah, I so appreciate you, Sherrie. I appreciate you sharing with my people all of your goodness. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And we'll see you next week for another fun episode. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Wellness Boss. If you want to learn more about my work, come visit me at rachelbethcoaching.com. That's Rachel minus the extra A, bethcoaching.com. I hope you have the most fantastic week. Don't forget to subscribe and review and to share this podcast with all your friends. See you next week. Namaste.